6:01, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Everyone's present but Ms. Conley. She's absent from the meeting. Please stand for the pledge and invocation.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Lord, we come before you tonight. We just thank you, Father, for every blessing, Lord, for another successful school year, Lord. We recently had graduation. Lord, just pray that you'll just bless all those recent graduates, Lord, as they head on to continue their education or to enter the workforce, Lord. Just bless each and every one of them. Lord, we know we've also had a couple of tragedies, Lord, here since our last meeting. The loss of one of our students, another student, a former student from just recent years, Lord. And just pray, Lord, that you'll be with those families, comfort them, give them peace, Lord, at this time. Lord, just be with us tonight in our board meeting, Lord. Just pray that every decision that's made here tonight is within your will. We give you the honor and the glory and the praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Need a motion to accept the minutes from the last board meeting.
Make motion we accept the minute.
Got a motion? Got a second? Second. All in favor? Unanimous. Adoption of the agenda. Need a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, old business. Our next board meeting will be Tuesday, July the 8th at 6 o'clock. Tuesday, July the 8th. Our next meeting. Going into new business. Item A on 16 section of land. Rodney, do you mind?
The 16 section lands, you starting out with our leases that are delinquent. We've had some success. The first one listed there has brought everything current now, so they're in a good standing. Second one has been making some payments, but this one he's still got something there. That third one there is a lease that we have recently terminated, and we got to work on pursuing that outstanding balance. The fourth one there, we did send that 60-day letter out, but it hadn't been received, so that's something that's we're going to have to hand deliver that thing, something that we're working on. The fifth one there, he has brought his current, what he owes the school is current, but there are some old taxes that are hanging out there. The last one that's listed was a new addition to the list, and we can take that one off. We received a check for that payment in the last day or so since we sent this out to you guys on a Friday. So you see, we also have some listed down there on some delinquent taxes, and that's something we have to address as well. I guess what I would kind of suggest at this point is once we deliver this last, know that it was accepted and deliver it and let it run its term to see where we stand with all these. And it'd probably be best to, if we were going to terminate all those leases and, do them all with every one at one time. So there's really nothing for you to make a motion on related to that tonight. There are some other things with, if you go down to item 266, it's just a renewal of a lease. Charlie Whitfield, the lease in Holcomb. It's had for a number of years now. And we're just looking to renew his 5-year lease there. And the rent's going to be $2,000 a year plus the reimbursement of that appraisal fee. And that rent is up some. I think the appraisal was up. It used to be about $1,700. Now it's $2,000. So we just ask you guys to approve the renewal of that lease.
Can we get a motion to approve the lease renewal item 266?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
The next thing up on 16 sections, item 267. It's been a while since we've had any timber sales. Any timber sales that were successful anyway. We've tried having a few timber sales for the thinning of pine trees. Not a lot of takers there. But when you get to final harvest, we've had some very good response. We had 2 sales that we opened the bids on a few days ago, and one of them's for 145 acres, and we had 6 bidders there. You see them listed, and you see, and the top bidder on the 145 acre tract on section 1622-4 was Harrison Logging, $281,000 and some change there. The 108 acre tract on 1621-4 section, the Warehouser was the high bidder there. We also had the same 6 bidders bidding on that one, $229,600. So both of those together, that's, you know, over $500,000, $510,688. Both of those high bids exceeded the Mississippi Forestry Commission's minimum that they had calculated, and I've got those amounts listed there in the narrative below as well. So they certainly are recommending that the board approve those high bidders, Harrison Logging on the 145 acres and Warehouser on the 108 acres.
Need a motion to accept the 2 bids for the lump sum 145 acre tract and the 108 acre tract. Do we need to do that separate, or can we?
I think you can do
Item
both in
267.
one. Mhm.
Okay.
And make a motion, we approve the bids on item 267.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
All right, the last item that we have, y'all, that we need you to consider and approve is an amendment. And this is, I'll just read it out here. So requesting board approval of a lease amendment to reflect a name change to the Moses and Houston Wright lease. This is actually a church and a cemetery. It's out off of Jefferson Road in that community. The issue there, you know, Mr. Moses Wright passed away, and I'm not sure if it's been a year or more or less and all. And I believe it's his cousin, Houston, you know, is the one that's remaining on the lease. And I think Mr. Moses was, I don't know, he was probably close to 90 years old or so. And I think Mr. Houston's not too far behind him, you know. So getting this, Mr. Walter Crowder is who we want to add on the lease. You know, again, because it's a cemetery, this will be continuing on and on. And Mr. Crowder came with Mr. Houston to the office a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about all this. And we just want to get his name on the lease again, because, you know, we'll need, you know, somebody on there from now on. It's probably the prudent thing to go ahead and do now instead of waiting and then kind of have an issue later on.
And get a motion to accept adding Mr. Crowder to the lease, item 268.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, Rodney. All right, item B, personnel.
To be in compliance with Mississippi Code 37-9-21, if you are related to any of the following personnel will be considered and voted upon, please recuse yourself from the school board meeting until a motion and vote is made. I'd like to make the following faculty recommendations for the 2024-25 school year. This is Personnel 1 on your laptops. And you see some recommendations of different people and names and also positions and what they're going to be doing. You see a few people resigning, and you see a few people that's transferring to different roles. We ask that you approve Personnel 1.
Need a motion to approve personnel 1?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor of personnel 1? Unanimous?
Okay, on Personnel 2, there's one person on Personnel 2, and that person will be a summer behavior specialist, interventionist, and we would like to recommend her for the 2024-25 school year, Personnel 2.
Can I get a motion for accepting personnel 2? Got a motion, second. discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
And I'd like to make the following faculty recommendations for the 2025-26 school year, the upcoming year. This is Personnel 3, and you're going to see a hefty list of recommendations, and you see all of the different spots that people are in. And you see a few people that's transferring. Of particular note, C.J. Hodges is moving to teacher and head coach. And you see also some increased contract length for a few people. You see them listed there. And decreased contract days for one. And you see supplemental pay for one person, Mr. Cooley, who is going to be the athletic game administrator in the district, and he's going to be helping us with that. So we ask that you please approve Personnel 3.
Can I get a motion for Personnel 3?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Got a question. Do we know this payment, Rodney, on this increase on the contract days?
Again, who are you talking about specifically?
On the contract days that are going from 210 to 233, from 200 to 210, 187 to 200, 210 to 233, and from 210 to 233. Do you know the increase on that?
I do not have those calculations with me now.
This was the same discussion that we had last month when we were trying to figure out what we were paying the people, and we got 3 different numbers and nobody knew what we were gonna be paying them. So I think it would be prudent, moving forward, before we just blindly accept, contract increases, that we know exactly what we're gonna be paying people. How do we make a budget or plan if we just are putting numbers out there with no number associated with it? And I guess that's more of a board thing, not more so for you, Rodney. But how do we approve it if we don't even know what we're approving? Because remember, last month, we ran into the same issue, and David, Rodney, the president, they didn't know what the amount was. Everybody was wrong.
Dr. D, what's the increases for?
Whenever you move somebody from one rate, from the daily structure of what they do, if they work 210 and then moving to 233, then it's calculated by determining the daily rate and then simply multiplying it out beyond that for that particular job. That's what it is. So the rate is not anything more than what the daily rate is for that person who has been working a contract with us. As we get ready to move forward, in the future, if anyone on the board is interested in knowing what the rate of pay is going to be for a particular person, if you would contact us ahead of time, we could research that, we could run the numbers, we could have all of that. But instead of trying to just mention this very quickly, no, the business manager is not going to know what the numbers are related to and how much it's going to cost to move someone from 210 to 233. But it's a very simple task to figure that out. If you would let us know in advance of the meeting, we'll have that for you the next time.
Right, sure. So we understand how the formula is calculated. That wasn't the question. We know it's the daily teacher rate multiplied times how many extra days it is. But if you notice, maybe if there was a little bit more consistency in the report, because on some of these, you have the rate, you have the money associated with the name, and on some of these you don't. So again, I think it'd just be prudent to be consistent on, hey, this is what this is gonna amount to. Because again, how can the board, Right, that's it. And then if you go up, it's on the
Yeah.
ones up top too. So the only thing I'm saying is, hey, it'd just be beneficial for the board to know we're approving this person for an extra $20,000 a year, or this person for extra $10,000 a year. So again, some of these are associated with numbers and some of them
Sure.
are not. So it's an inconsistent report.
Right.
So the only thing I'm asking the board is that how can we approve it if we don't even know what the amount is? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying it'll be, that just takes fidelity from the board, if we don't know even what we are, voting on. We're just blindly voting without even knowing.
But I take it these days an increase for the summer.
No,
Part of
these
the
aren't
summer.
summer. No, it's not summer days. Yeah, they're gonna bleed over into the summer, but those are not just summer days.
But it's just an increase from what they are working to additional days.
Right, correct. That's right. Which could be, I mean, last month it was an increase of, $11,000 for two people.
Incorrect.
But, I mean, they were doing additional work.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Needed
and,
for-
yeah, that's not the
some
issue.
stuff.
I mean, that's not the issue that they should be approved or not. It just, I would like to know what the people, I mean, we know what everybody else is getting paid, but, you know, when we do an increase, I would like to just see, hey, that we're approving this person for an extra 10,000 or 8,000 or whatever that money is. And if it was incorrect because it was given to us incorrectly. Again, just to draw the memory, Mr. President said 5,000, Rodney said 8, I believe, and you came up with the number, but you were also incorrect. And then when he went upstairs and came back with the official number, it was something completely different from what everybody had guessed on. Just trying to take some fidelity in the work that we do, that's all.
So, we have discussed that, so we can make a motion to accept this, and then you wanna make a motion to add that to the report?
Sure.
As a separate motion?
Sure.
We wait, okay,
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the personnel 3.
okay. Second. All in favor? All right,
I'll make a motion that on additional meetings, that the business manager in conjunction with the superintendent add the increased payment alongside of contractual days increase.
got a motion? Can I get a second? Second, okay. All in favor of just adding that figure in there like it is on some of the other supplemental pay? Approved? Unanimous? All right, so you make that notation in the minutes, please. All right, let's see, we got another personnel, or is it?
No, that's
I
all.
think that's all.
All right, item C for policies.
Okay, one of the policies, the first one is the EEAC student charge meals. And what we are doing is we are almost doubling the amount that students can charge for lunches. It went from $8 to $15 in the full pay category, and I believe it was $1.20 to $3 in the reduced. And so that would allow the students to charge more in case they didn't have money that day, and that was recommended by our food services director, Myra Tannis.
All right, need a motion to accept the increased charge amount for student meals going forward.
So moved.
You got a motion? Can I get a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right. Code IHFC
Okay.
policies.
So on this policy, we had, 2 recommendations. And so I believe proposal 1 is Dr. Turner's. Is that correct, Kelly? Proposal 1, okay, is Dr. Turner what he suggested? If y'all could pull that up and look at it. Proposal 2 is from the administration here at central office and at the high school. Those people are listed at the top. And they're very close.
What's the difference in the two?
Well,
Side by side?
the biggest is, is that we have that all, on the administration proposal, we have that all of the district employees may give out diplomas to their children. School board members and former school board members may give out diplomas to their children and grandchildren. We felt that that should be afforded to the board. Both have the elected officials representing the local, state, and national government. We listed the appointed officials on the administration policy so that it would be specific and there would be no questions. And then, if you look at the considerations down at the bottom, I would like for this to be in the handbook, even if I have to wait a month to get the handbook to the printer, because I think it would be important to be in there for the high school seniors. This one says 30 days before the ceremony, and the other one, it says by April 15th, they must email the GHS principal or designee. And then it also, this one specifies who is gonna be called out, so the list is not so long at graduation. And then the superintendent may make adjustments should any special circumstances arise. So we're hoping that doesn't happen. We hope the policy, whichever we decide or whatever y'all want to edit either one of these into, we hope that we don't have to do that, because that's the point of the policy.
We have found that a lot of people were making comment about the number of platform guests that we had, and by calling out each person, it just elongates the process. And so we're looking for ways to be able to shorten the graduation a little bit, because it's this year, it went on significantly longer than past years. And Ms. Tyndall and her team worked on this, Mr. Cooley, Dr. Bain. And you want to speak to any of this, Mr. Cooley, Ms. Tyndall, Dr. Bain?
We were trying to find a consistent way to, to make sure that all the teachers and everyone within the district had an opportunity to present for their children. And we wanted to put a limit because, having to check behind whether someone is a cousin or a relative. And so in order to be consistent, we just wanted to make sure that we were, it was the children of the employees of the school district. And we kind of debated whether or not should it just be teachers? What's the difference between the teacher and the teacher assistant who works just as hard as anyone else within the district? And so that's kind of where we decided to go with the employees of the school district.
So now it's any full-time employee of the district. If their child's graduating, they can.
Yes, sir.
But it's for the children,
For the
or
children.
if they are a legal guardian of a child.
Yes.
Okay, so that puts them in that category.
I make a motion to approve proposal number 2 as presented.
Motion for proposal 2. I hear a second. Second. All in favor of proposal 2? Unanimous?
But I do have a question though.
Yes.
Kevin, when did you see the difference between my proposal that I proposed and this proposal?
They're very similar. I think
Really?
one
Yeah,
thing,
sure, it was great. I mean, you all did a great job. I think it was pretty much apples and oranges, but I just was wondering, apples and apples, not apples and oranges, apples and apples. So I was wondering, what was the difference, in the taste for proposal number 1, since they are so very similar? I'm talking to Kevin.
I think the second one, this is my
Yeah, sure,
opinion,
sure,
what I
yeah,
saw
this
is
board meeting, we're just
that
having a
it's
conversation.
keeping it simplified, like Dr. B mentioned, down to children and grandchildren instead of so many relatives. And plus, you know, you've got your elected officials and appointed, and having that specific list where it's not so many coming up and having to change. It's just a little bit more specified, but they were very similar.
So,
That's all.
I think at the very end, it was a broader statement for others to be included. And so instead of us having to decide who, you get this special treatment and then where do we stop? And so I think that there's, at the very end, there was a space for, we just couldn't say, hey, this is what the policy says, and not make any accommodation for someone else to make them feel more special than others.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Great job. Yeah.
And the biggest change, the biggest difference is has to be a child of
And-
the employee.
And all the employees, because at one time
Right.
it was kind of limited
Right.
to the teachers.
Right.
I like that part too. Okay. All right.
And by the way, I think in the procedures of what we're gonna do this, we're gonna notify, as after it's passed tonight, then we're gonna notify the elected officials of the process and how it works, and there's gonna be conversation with the seniors as well. That was one of the things, Mr. Cooley, that I think y'all, Ms. Tyndall, that y'all thought was really important. Y'all would have that conversation with the kids, and we're gonna adhere to what it says. If it says April 15th, that's what it's gonna be.
we'll have those discussions at the beginning of the year and also before our graduation meeting.
Okay.
And I would like to say to the district staff, you all did an amazing job at graduation. That was really, really,
Thank you.
that was really, really professional, top notch. I mean, I was just very, very proud to be a part of that. That was just an outstanding job that you all did. So I just wanted to just make sure that you all know that. And I know this was an oversight, but I do wanna, I was talking to the chief back there, I do wanna say one thing. We missed the long list that David announced at the ceremony. I know this was an oversight, but we missed one person, and I want to say it on the record. It was the chief of police. He had his people there securing it. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave Chief Douglas kudos for being there, being present, and keeping everything together. So, and I know it was we listed 100 people, and it's kind of gets scrambled up. So.
We didn't see him.
Yeah, no, I know, it wasn't a problem, I recognized it.
No, I felt bad.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
'cause
saying.
I just wanted to make sure that we said it, because they did a great job.
Well, I have noticed that's not RSVP. You have to kind of scramble there at the end and see who's there.
Who's there, who's coming, that's right.
And then
that's
once
right.
you kind of make that list and walk out there.
And the bigger the group, the more.
Harder it is to catch it. Right,
We apologize.
right. But I was like, yeah, they did an outstanding job, but it was an outstanding job that you all did, so I'm proud.
All right, moving on to item D, handbooks 2025-2026.
Okay, on the handbooks, of course, we updated the yearly things, personnel contacts, dates, job descriptions, calendar, report card dates. And I will do the table of contents after the board meeting, depending on what we decide here. Also, we updated the meal cost in all the student handbooks.
Okay, I think it's that next one down.
I was just clicking on the first one.
Yeah, that's what I think she covered.
I'm sorry.
The changes.
Kevin, if you could go to the one that says handbook changes.
I got it.
Handbook board
It's up.
changes.
It's a,
This way I don't have to take y'all through this whole book. It's just quicker this way. And then, we updated the traditional diploma endorsement options in, oh, that should actually be the middle school and high school. Oh, it is, I see it now. And Ms. Tyndall, do you wanna speak to that?
Yes, we specifically updated the career and technical endorsement. The State Department made a change in that throughout this year and added career and technical or JROTC endorsement. And so we had to add the JROTC in our handbook.
Okay, and then in our high school handbook, we added advanced manufacturing 1 and 2. And then I'm gonna let you just read the next ones instead of me reading them out. Most of those were just simple name changes from like metal trades to, welding and advanced welding. Nothing big on that. Then, you saw the student charge meals that I'm gonna put in there. We changed the wording from cutting class to skipping class because that's the way it's addressed in most of the handbook, and that's the way they address it at the school. As well as we added off-limit zones because that's how the kids know it as. Then we have made the tardy system, and I will let anyone speak to this if that would help. But we tried to make the tardy system more, I want to say, efficient and to what we're truly doing in the schools, because we had gotten away from that a little bit, and it was brought to my attention. And then also the last thing was we added earbuds and headphones to electronic devices. Every year almost we add something there. So those are the changes to the handbook. And then what I would like to do is I'm gonna, like I said earlier, I'm gonna wait about printing the high school handbook so that we can get, we have a history chain or changes on the state history test that are coming to us, I think, on the 19th, Ms. Tyndall?
Yes, we should.
And we may have to make those changes in the high school handbook, as well as I want to get this is a new, the graduation policy is a new policy, so it has to be put in front of the board twice. So once it goes in front of the board, then we will add it to the high school handbook.
Ms. Tindall, I have a question for you. And you may know the answer, and you may not, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Is your tardy scale, does it mirror your teacher tardy scale? Like, is that policy? That may be something for you, Ms. Russell. Like, do they mirror? Like, if a student is tardy once, that's a warning. Twice, it's a warning. 3 times, then we send them to ISD. So if a teacher's late once, twice, 3rd time, do we do anything? Like, is there a policy in place for teachers that are tardy 3 times? Like,
We have procedures that we follow. The first one would be maybe a verbal warning, then a handwritten just notice, then a memo, email memo, then a formal letter. So yes,
So it's
there
kinda
is there
like a progression.
are steps. It's a step-by-step process.
But no policy.
No policy that I'm aware of.
but no policy.
That's maybe addressed differently at each school. That's what we do.
Gotcha.
And so I will need a motion to pass the changes for the handbooks.
Can I get a motion to accept the changes to the handbook for 25-26 as presented? Motion, second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Got a question for you, Ms. Tindall. Have you looked at alternatives to you all right, David?
Excuse me?
I said, were you okay? I just heard you exhale. I thought maybe something was going on. That was it.
I'm perfectly fine.
Oh,
But
okay.
thanks for your concern.
Yeah, thanks. So, have you looked at alternatives to, like, not saying punitive, that's not the word I want to say, but for lack of a better word, a punitive system? Have you looked at other things that could be done on that?
For student tardies,
Mhm.
yes, we have. We've also reached out to other schools to determine what they were doing. We've sat down, we have revisited the tardy the tardy idea every year, multiple times a year, and we will revisit it again this year.
I know,
Yes.
look, and I'm saying this because I love your school. You do an amazing, you all do an amazing job over there. And so that was for my own personal to see, well, maybe what are you doing different? Have you looked at something that I could take? But you all do a great job at the high school, so I just was curious. That was it.
Item E is the 21st century update.
Okay, if you could pass this to Mr. Idiot, y'all sign that for me. We are currently closing out our year with our middle school and high school 21st century grants. And right now in summer school, we have 105 students, which is excellent. Hopefully those students will get credit recovery and be able to pass into the next grade, most of those. We will have tutoring in September, October, and November until November 30th with those grades. They finally, as you know, the elementary ran out last year, our elementary 21st century grant. We kept waiting for the RFP, which is the directions on how to write the grant they want. And we never got it. We should have gotten it, this time, spring, never got it. And so we've gone this whole year with no 21st century at the elementary school, which I hated. And so, a week ago, I think it was a week ago-ish, I got notice that we had the RFP. So I'm gonna try to hibernate and write 2 grants, 2 budgets, and for the elementary and for the middle school, high school, hoping that overlap is okay. They say it is, but I'm hoping it is. The only thing is that I've heard from some other people that instead of getting the 100% of what they're saying we could get, they're gonna cut everybody down to 69%. And I can't pay my teachers, with basically 31% of the money. I can't pay all the teachers for us to do what we need to do. I could pay some teachers, but I can't do all. So I'm hoping that after Thursday, we're gonna have a little more clarity on that from the State Department. And I will get on it and, try to get everything done that we can get done and make sure that we can get grants for both schools. I don't know. They have said in the past they would not issue the grant to one district but to different schools. So I thought about writing one grant for pre-K through 12. But then that cuts pretty much your teachers in half. They cut your special programs that, you have to be very creative with 21st century. And so a lot of our programs with, the STEAM classrooms and the podcasting and, all those different kinds of things we have, weightlifting, those kind of things besides tutoring are what help us get the grant because it's creative and they love that. But if I do pre-K through 12, one grant, then we're gonna severely cut all that because we know we need tutoring. So, I'm gonna kinda wait and see what they say Thursday. I'm gonna get with Dr. Dagnall and, kinda see what direction he wants me to take it in. But I will be actively doing it. It's due before June 30th. So, I have the elementary grant 95% done. I don't have any of the high schools, so that's gonna take me the next couple of weeks. But, I would like to do 2 grants, and I would hope that we could get full funding, which would mean a lot of money for our district.
So, Ms. Russell, if you're hearing 69%, okay? But they would expect you to do 100% of the work with 69% of the money, right?
Right.
So you can't just reduce 30% of the work, correct?
Right.
So how would we manage that? We'd have to come up with the money to do.
I'm gonna have to come up with a scheme and with you and, you know, try to decide what direction we wanna go in, you know, if, you know, it would just be something we'd have to talk about and figure out, but I'm hoping to know that by Thursday. Not sure, but I'm hoping to know that by Thursday.
Okay.
So that's an update on 21st Century, but, you know, my plan is to write 2 grants to get full funding and, you know, get to do all of our creative classes along with tutoring to help the kids. I know we've really missed it at the elementary school this year. So that's my plan, but sometimes plans don't turn out the way you want them to turn out. So,
Thank you. Also, item F is our energy update.
okay, this one's quick and easy. I put something in your folders on this. Since November of 2010, we have saved a little over $3.5 million in our energy savings. Again, you've heard me say this, it's due to, you know, the teachers being very cost efficient, making sure we turn down things at night, turn off lights during the day, all that kind of stuff that we're not using. And then, you know, the things that the maintenance department have done by putting LEDs in and those kind of things. So, you know, we're trying to work together and try to keep our energy, keep saving money on our energy. So, just wanted to give you a little update on that. I usually do that once a year,
Thank you, that's good.
and that's all I have.
All right. Let's see, item G, CSI, TSI update.
It's not a lot new, because we're just waiting on test scores. I mean, we do have summer school going on, and with summer school, we have a good many of our special education students in the summer school, working with them, trying to get them prepared for next year, get them ahead, get them a lead with that. And then also, we have some professional development training going on for our teachers in the summer. So those are the 2 main things we're doing over the summer at this point in time, that group. That's pretty much it right now.
All right, thank you. All right, item H is approval of out-of-district students.
If you look at, I think you have a list of out-of-district students, and these actually,
I don't have that item.
huh? You do? You do not. Well, we have 3 people that fall into this category, but they are tuition-paying students. And so we've collected tuition from 3 students that coming in, 2 from Carroll County and 1 from Tallahatchie. And so we ask that you please approve those students, these out-of-district transfers.
Can I get a motion to approve the out-of-district, transfers?
So,
Have a motion, second? All in favor? Unanimous? All right, item J.
Aye.
aye.
Oh, okay,
I
I'm
would
sorry.
count.
Employee petition for out-of-county students.
Right, and this is, we ask that you please approve this list of 25, 26 employee petitions for the out-of-county students that have presented, that have been presented thus far during registration. And you see, you have a list there, and you can see who they are, and you can see where they're from on column 4. And we ask that you please approve that.
Get a motion to approve employee petitions for out-of-county students.
Make a motion.
Motion, second. Dr. Brazel, all in favor? Unanimous? Now, J, IDEA fiscal year 26 assurances.
So the Mississippi Department of Education's Office of Special Education has not announced IDEA allocations for 619 or 611 funds for FY26. So what you have before you is the FY26 IDEA assurances for substantially approved application. With the board's approval and the required signatures, the Grenada School District will be able to continue to use IDEA funds from FY24 and 25, those carryover funds in the provision of special education related services. So I ask that you approve these assurances.
I get a motion to approve the IDEA carryover fund? Motion, second.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous? All right. Item K, approval of fiscal year 25 ESY SPED budget.
So at the May board meeting, you approved the provision of special education ESY services and staff. Tonight you have a copy of the budget before you. This budget includes salaries for teachers, assistant teachers, related service providers, transportation, supplies, bus drivers, bus monitors, and private placements in the provision of special education related services. And I ask that you approve this proposed budget.
I get a motion to approve the budget as presented.
So moved.
Thank you all.
All in favor? Unanimous? All right. Item L, approval of recommendation to cancel purchase order or re-award Chromebook and license bid.
Chris?
So this goes back to our reverse auction for Chromebooks that we held back in, well, y'all approved in April. To date, the vendor that we awarded that contract to, or that bid to, has not delivered Chromebooks or Chrome licenses. So he's had 2 months now to do it. I've spoken with him, Rodney's spoken with him. He seemed very capable in the beginning, but as of to date, he has not delivered anything. So I'm asking the board to cancel his purchase order and go with the second highest bidder on our bid.
Is there a reason, production?
It's not production. I have spoken with Lenovo rep, the Southeast rep for Lenovo, and they've got about 15,000 units in stock right now. So it's not a inventory issue. It's not a, I don't know what the issue is, but I spoke with him. I sent him an email about 2.5 weeks ago and said, hey, if we don't have something by the time of the board meeting, we're gonna have to, make a move. And as of today, he has not gotten us anything. And the Chrome licenses are very easy. They're not physical. It's just a click of buttons. So
I'll make a motion that we cancel the purchase order and reward the Chromebook license bid.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, Chris. All right, item N, approval to advertise bid for reverse auction.
This one is for the anatomage tables. Is that how you say it, Has it? Did I get it close? Yeah. This is,
That's why I didn't say it.
it's really a good thing. Let me tell you what it is first, and then I'll tell you just a little bit about it. But we're gonna be using it, in our health sciences program. And, it's a table with software to support health tracks and provide a pathway for nursing. And so this is gonna be at the vocational school, and this thing shows the human body like in 3D form. And it comes out of the table, so you can look at the muscles, you can look at the bones, you can look at the heart, it's really a neat thing. There are 40 of these in the United States, in high schools in the United States, 40. We would be the 41st school district, and we would be purchasing 2 of these. And this is really a neat thing because it's gonna give our kids a real edge as if they wanna move into medicine, And also, think about this, if, a doctor who is working in town, he may need to explain something to a patient and he's having trouble explaining what it is and what it looks like, he could come over to this table and show them on this table exactly what it is. Now, this is really stepping way forward because it's, you have in medical schools, you'll have some schools that have this, okay? And they may have 6 or 8 of them. Well, in Grenada, we're gonna have 2. Very proud of it. And this is the work of Sherry Worsham in what's been happening, and also Barry Rogers, who is our retiring person from the Career and Technical Center, and Dr. Ezra Bean, who is the new person at the Career and Technical Center. And so we're excited about it. We think it's going to be really good, but we need to do a reverse auction to be able to get this. And so we're asking permission to allow us to do a reverse auction on these anatomage tables.
I get a motion to approve the reverse auction, advertise for bid.
Make a motion.
Motion, second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
I do have a question about this. Dr. Bean, where will these tables be? And what
Over
program?
in the Career and Technical Center, and we're looking at a space that is dedicated to that and some other resources for students.
And what grade students will be utilizing these tables?
Initially, it will be for the health track students. However, it will be something that will be available for all teachers and students within the high school. And it would, we could look at inviting middle school students over as well, because it's something that we would be able to recruit students into our health program.
So the primary function, so I know, being able to have people come, but the primary function,
So-
day to day is gonna be used by who?
Students
Health
and
science.
the teachers. And so in year 2 of the health program, a lot of it is dealing with the human body.
Sure.
And so the muscles, the skeletal system, the nervous system. And so in that, in the anatomage table, the kids will be able to kind of explore, take 3D looks at all the nervous system, the skeletal system, the muscular system. So it just helps enhance the educational experience for those students.
And this is gonna be, the cost of over $75,000 for 2 of these tables?
Yes, sir. That's
For 2 of the tables, okay. I think it's great. I guess I'm trying to conceptualize the cost to the benefit. Understanding that we'll be the 41st high school to have this table, but I'm just trying to see how does it correlate to, I guess, the learning or the purpose?
It enhances the learning experience for the students. And let's say, for instance, they have it at Mississippi State. And so when our students will go, if they go over into one of the health programs at Mississippi State, they will have the experience of being able to say, hey, I've dealt with this. I have hands-on interaction with, the body and some of the health benefits that come out of that curriculum. So it is a true, we feel like it is a true enhancement to the curriculum. And it will give the students a hands-on experience as much as possible.
And how many students is that in that health science class?
They are close to 60, because it fills up in year 1 because we have 2 year 1 programs, and so those classes fill up, and so then we have the year 2 course fill up as well. So it's close to 60 kids at a year.
60 kids.
But it will also be open to our human A&P teachers. It will be open to our project lead, the way biomedical teachers, the biology.
Middle school.
That's what I was about
So
to ask.
it's not just those health sciences. It will be in that space, but it will be open to those teachers and to the students.
Okay. And so what's the projected cost of both of those tables?
I think it's,
It just said on what I can see, it just said above, it exceeds 75,000, so I didn't know what.
I don't have the exact number in front of me.
So this is just to beat it out? This is
Get
just
the bid,
to get
yeah.
the bid? Okay. I make a motion that we accept the bid for the entomology tables.
All right,
Second.
all in favor? Unanimous?
Well, we'd already made a motion.
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean,
That's all right. It's
Somebody
unanimous.
else.
All right, let's see.
the last,
Item N, Advanced Manufacturing Equipment Curriculum, approval to advertise bid reverse auction.
Yeah, this is the same basic thing with advanced manufacturing equipment, where we're gonna be doing quite a bit of equipment. The advanced manufacturing equipment and curriculum design is quite expensive. And we are getting great community involvement with industry in the needs that they have in order to have people prepared for the workforce. And so we're very excited about that. Advanced manufacturing is expensive when you start talking about doing this, but we do have money, a bucket of money that we can use for this purpose, and that's good. So we ask that, that we have approval for a reverse auction for advanced manufacturing equipment.
Can I get a motion to approve the advanced manufacturing equipment advertising bid for reverse auction?
I make a motion.
Motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Okay. Item 0, property and liability insurance proposal.
All right, y'all, this is our insurance quote is hot off the press. We just received it today, for the upcoming fiscal year. We have Keith Bills and Deborah Wyndham from South Group here with us tonight. Probably ask Keith to come up and talk a little bit. You guys know, if you look at that first schedule, you got it pulled up there, Kevin, with the graph and all, and you see the amount of the quote. It is an increase this year, but a much less of an increase than it's been the last couple of years. The total, property and liability insurance for this next year is going to be $696,000. Up from $672,000 last year, an increase of $24,000, which is a little over 3%. And but if you look at those 2 years prior to that, it was a 42% increase the previous year and a 46% increase the year prior to that. So, and also keeping in mind that we have bought a number of new buses, which is added to what we're insuring dollar-wise. The classroom addition at the upper elementary school, is an additional building that we have to insure now. So the values have gone up, so that's driving the premium some as well. Come on, Keith, there's something you can kind of talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, you told me, I'm glad you told me I'm gonna talk a little bit, because I'm gonna be kind of long. Want to get rid of it. No, this is really good news, for the industry's been just in turmoil for the last 4 years, not just for commercial property, but for all lines, personal lines and homeowners and auto and whatever. But anyway, one of the really good things that happened with this proposal is a comparison from last year to this year as far as the coverages. And the main thing that changed, we lost blanket coverage last year and had what's called a margin clause. And I'll try to explain that. Like if you got a $10 million building and you have a loss, and you got replacement cost coverage, and it ends up the building at the time of loss was worth $15 million. With a margin clause, a 25% margin clause, all you'll get paid is $1,250,000 because you only got 25% increase on that. Whereas with blanket, it pays whatever the loss was up to your total limit of coverage. So it gives you the protection of, if things, and really as inflation's been going lately, that can be a big thing. I know I got a buddy that's an agent in Fulton, and his city had it on their bill, and they had one that was, I think they insured it for, it was insured for $350,000. It was $1.2 million by the time they got through, and he had blanket on it. So that's a big thing. Now, there's one caveat to that. Companies require that you have up-to-date appraisals on your property for two reasons. Number one, you want to have them insured to value, and two, they want to make sure that they're getting the money for the exposure they got on all the different schools. So they are gonna require that an appraisal be done, and this is a specialized appraisal that is gonna be done by Gallagher, who's a broker that I write it through. And there's additional cost for it, which is included in the proposal at the bottom of $9,300. But that will be sometime during this year. They're gonna be appraising, we're in a group with 8 other school districts, so it'll be 795 buildings they're gonna appraise. And it's gonna be a very detailed appraisal, tells you all the construction, the roof age, so you'll have a lot of really good data on all your property that you can refer to. But anyway, so that's, the only other thing that changed, we have less vehicles, but we got more value. Because I think some of the buses that we got were pretty, I think some of the,
All the new buses.
yeah, all the new buses, but, so that increased our auto physical damage. And let me tell you something that's driving the rate that people don't realize on the casualty side is liability insurance is going up because all these vehicles now have all these safety devices, which are the greatest things. They save people's lives and keep people from being injured so bad. But the flip side of that, if you damage one of these safety devices, it's very expensive when you get the vehicle repaired to go in there, because you got to replace all that with it. So that's driving the liability property damage cost, so it costs up a lot. People don't think about that, but I've saved a lot on business. But anyway, this is very favorable quote compared to anything I've had over the last 4 years.
Mr. Bell, and I think you covered this before, but he was asking, and I'm not sure, I can't remember. But it's a lump insurance with other districts, is that how it works? But
Yes.
we're spread out
Yes.
far enough that.
Yes, it's with, try to name them, Lee County, Itawamba County, Tupelo, Nettleton, Pontotoc, Baldwin. In the northeast part of the states where it kind of got started, and we're adding on at a later time, but that's where most of the school districts are located, in the northeast part. It's Northeast Mississippi Schools.
So for an example, just throwing a number out there, if we have a coverage for $5 million on a building, $10 million on a building, and Tupelo, New Albany, or Newton, if they all have losses, like we have a loss in the same period, all the money is just pulled from one pot, so we wouldn't get the coverage that we have. Is that how it works?
Well, you have a maximum per occurrence limit of 350 million. So it would have to be over 350 million, which is, I'll take, for instance, he writes IHL. He writes this is Jeff that's been here with Gallagher, and IHL has this Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern, and whatever other schools are included in it. They have $15 million worth of coverage, worth of property on their schedule. Their amount of coverage they carry is $750 million, because they have a maximum probable loss, and that's what they come up with that. And so it doesn't exhaust your limit. It's a per occurrence limit. If you had one today and it turned out and had one, the limit just reinstates every time. It's not an aggregate. It's a per occurrence. And I did talk to Rodney about looking at the school board, but if you remember last year, they were $300,000 higher, and I didn't.
The school board association, we did get a quote last year, and it was significantly higher.
Yeah, and if you remember, the school board is accessible. That's a joint and several bodies.
I remember we discussed this before, I just didn't know how it
Yeah,
worked.
and this is true transfer of risk. It's with Travelers who writes property, and Trident, who's been writing the liability. The other lines is the carrier that writes the liability. The other lines, the casualty, I guess what I said. I did talk a lot, didn't I?
That was good, thank you.
Anybody else got any questions? Does that make sense?
All right, can we get a motion to approve the proposed property liability insurance next year?
I'll make
Motion,
I'll
and
second.
second. All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Item B, approval of interfund transfer authority.
Yeah, this is just something that we get you guys to approve every year as we start in July to close the books on the FY25 fiscal year. We'll have to move some money around. Just I've named a couple of things there, examples of interfund transfers, and just getting you guys to give us the authority to do that as we do the routine year-end closure.
Got a motion, Dr. Rose? Take a second.
Second.
Second. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous? Item Q, single source.
Yeah, a couple items on there this time, and a lot of this, the reason they're showing up on here is there are some related materials. So better safe than sorry. We wanted to go ahead and get those in the board minutes as single sources.
Can I get approval for the item Q, single source purchases?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right, item R, update on cafeteria meal plan. Wait, was there something else?
Yeah, yes.
I'm sorry.
Single source?
No, you know, we just done that one.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm sorry.
assuming,
Okay.
that wasn't me,
Yeah.
that's all I was.
Okay. The cafeteria plan, there was a question that was asked at the last meeting about the plan and how did we move to the point of increasing the amount of money, and so that it costs for meals. Last time we had an increase was 2014-15, that school year, about 10 years ago. There hasn't been an increase since then. USDA requires that all school food service authorities use the federal paid lunch equity calculator to determine pricing information for school meals, okay? The pricing was set years ago, has allowed us not to be required to raise meal prices. However, the required 10-cent yearly increase with inflation cost has exceeded the owed pricing information. So the required pricing for the 25-26 school year is at minimum $2.76 plus 10 cents pricing, and it's rounded up to the nearest quarter amount to easily make change and make the serving lines run more efficiently. And I have a lot more information from USDA that I'd be happy to go over with you if you need that. But the bottom line is that Myra Timms has done an incredible job in food service, and she is saying that we need to move the price tag up so that we can stay in compliance with, the federal paid lunch equity calculator. And for the adult meals, it's the same thing. You know, they look at how much does it cost, what does it take, how do you make it work, my understanding is there's a calculator that's used in order to determine that. And that's just simply an explanation of what happens from our attempts. Be happy to try to answer any questions y'all might have.
I think we approved it last meeting, we just weren't sure how that calculator, where that came from, so. But it is a USDA.
It is,
function.
it is something that, it goes all the way up in order to make it work. And keep in mind, we do try to keep the rates as low as possible. And, and we're not gonna let kids go hungry, I can tell you that. That's not gonna happen.
Thank you. Item S, Dr. Dagenall, is you updated?
Yeah, I need, to get approval on hiring 8 assistants, 8 assistant teachers. As y'all, these are interventionists. You know that we had 29 AmeriCorps people that were working in the district, and the 29 people are no longer funded, okay? All right, so I got with our team of people, and they felt like in the intervention program that if we had 8 interventionists, by the way, one of them had already been approved to go to the middle school, so it's 7 new people, but it would be a total of 8 assistants that would, be working as interventionists within the school district, and it would help us greatly. Again, trying to take the place of 29 people that have been doing AmeriCorps, okay? Now, the wire is up pretty high because those 8 are gonna have to do a lot of work. And we're trying to streamline what we're doing in our schools so that we can make it work a little bit better. But we need approval for the 8 assistants.
Can I get a motion to approve the assistant interventionist? A motion, second?
Second.
Any discussion?
What's the price on those 8?
What is the price? It's, Rodney, what is an assistant teacher pay? You should know. An assistant teacher, yes.
Okay, I thought you said.
Yeah, how much is an assistant teacher? What do they make, you know?
I don't, I'm not sure. I'm sure we can
Oh,
pull it, I'm sure
okay.
we can pull it up.
Yeah, we could find out exactly what an assistant teacher makes, and, because these would be assistant teacher pay.
$12, $13?
It's $11.75 an hour.
$18,142 a year. That's for 187 days, it's 8 hours a day. With benefits and all of these, somewhere around $25,000. 8 of them, about $200,000.
Yeah, and we, in the AmeriCorps program, we have been paying, it's a match. It's not an exact match, but you contribute and they contribute. And so this is approximately what, that was the guidelines that we were working from. How much can we get for the money we have?
So we were already spending that in the budget, we're just
We
moving
are.
it to less people, but it's a different.
We are. We're spending approximately that. It's not exactly, but it's approximately that. But this is the only way that we're gonna be able to educate the kids at the level that we want to do, so, okay.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, and secondly, at the middle school, they've been making some progress. If you've been by the middle school site, you're gonna see that they're doing a lot of outside work preparation. Drainage pipes are all over the campus. They're trying to get all of that stuff done. And so they're progressing pretty nicely. The maintenance department is going into the schools and they're working to try to take care of all of the needs of the individual schools. We just got a hit list at the high school of things that we need to, that we want to consider and we want to do. So we're getting ready to turn the maintenance department loose on that, and that's going to help us a lot. Is all of it going to be 100%? No, it never will. But we're going to be doing all we can in maintenance in order to take care of the schools. The vocational program progress that we're making is pretty astounding with advanced manufacturing, equipment purchase, with what we're doing in the, in the science area, in health science. It's gonna make a huge difference in what we're able to offer for our students. Dr. B mentioned that we had about 60 kids who in the health sciences, and bottom line is we had to increase the number of teachers. We went from 1 teacher in health sciences in Grenada to hiring a 2nd teacher because we have such a need for it. And so what we're trying to do is offer something very, very special that's going to make a huge difference in trying to educate these kids as they get ready to move forward. So we're looking forward at the vocational thing. You're going to see that in the next year, you're going to see things beginning to take shape as to what we're trying to do in regard to job growth in Grenada, helping industry, helping in so many different ways, and also reaching into the community a little bit deeper, you know, so that we can offer some opportunities for people that might be in a job, but a community member that might want to go to something different, a different line of work, which is really, really good. And hence, that's why we have the two people that we moved to a 234-day contract. This one of those people was on a 187-day contract, and it was about $11,000 price tag to move him to 234. The other one was on a 210-day contract, so we're moving them the distance of 210 to the 234. And so, but we feel like we're making pretty good progress, and we're excited about it. And Ezra, you're going to do a wonderful job in running this program and making this happen.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right. Item T is approval for the roofing change order.
We did have one change order again that we need to get on the minutes and get you guys to approve. It was for the roofing of our vocational school. The original contract price was a little over $166,000. There were a couple contingencies built in to the bid, and neither of those were used. So it was just an unused contingency allowance and an unused wet insulation allowance at $10,000 apiece. So where instead of paying $166,000 for the roof, it's going to cost us $146,000. So again, it's just a reduction to the cost of the use of the roof
Pretty good.
because we didn't have to
Yeah.
do some things that we could have had to do.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to make a motion just to
Yes,
accept
and
that
just
change order.
approve the accepting that change.
All right. Can I get a motion to accept the change order for the
Make
roofing?
a motion, accept the change order.
Second. Any discussion, all in favor? Unanimous? Approval of junk and surplus bids.
Okay, we did have a number of buses that we had, that we have had on the junk and surplus list that we advertised them for sale, and you see, if you look at that schedule, you'll see we had a number of bidders. And we've highlighted in yellow the high bidder for each of those items. Did kind of go over the list with Benji Brett, our transportation director. He thought that all those high bids were acceptable. So again, just asking you guys to approve the highlighted bids, which are the high bids for each of those junk items.
We make a motion to accept the bids for junk and surplus items. Motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion, all in favor? Unanimous? All right. Declaration of junk and surplus.
Yep, it's a pretty big list there. We got all the outgoing Chromebooks on there, which constitutes the bulk of it.
Like about a third of them.
It's a bunch of them.
Okay. I make a motion to accept the declaration of junk and surplus as presented. Motion, second.
Second.
Any discussion, all in favor? All right, unanimous? W, deletion of fixed assets.
They need to go ahead and delete, which will include all those buses and vehicles and such.
Need a motion for deletion of fixed assets that were presented last
I make a motion.
motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right, review of financial statement activities fund.
I'll let you guys look over those. If you have any questions, please ask.
receive the financial statement?
So moved.
Okay, vote. All in favor? Unanimous? All right, item Y is, public comment. We do have someone signed up, and I'm gonna go over our policy for public comment, which is in our handbook. Limitations, public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual or group. Public comments at special meetings must be related to the call of the meeting. The first 10 people sign the roster at the board meeting will be given 3 minutes each to comment to the board. The public comments time is not a forum for in-depth discussion of issues with the board, nor is it a public discussion. Rather, it's a time that the public may use to make a board aware of matters related to student achievement, school operations. The board will not debate any issues raised through parameters. The public is reminded that issues protected by privacy laws, such as student discipline and school personnel, for example, cannot be discussed in open session, and therefore are not suitable items for public comment. That's a brief description, so. We have, Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
If it, like I said, if it does involve, specifics, then the board may wanna vote to go into executive session if they wanna hear the comments.
I make a motion that we go into executive session.
They'll make some motion.
Dr. Turner.
Is that okay with you?
Yes.
All right, I need a second for executive session.
Second.
Second. All in favor? All right, make a motion to open executive session.
Do you wanna wait and do this after the bill? Cause you have a place for executive session.
Yeah.
You'll do that?
Go ahead and do the
Yes.
bills then.
Oh, wait, we gotta come back. I don't think but a second. Make a motion to pay the bills.
I second.
I say.
All in favor?
Can my bill on there? I want.
I didn't say, oh,
I didn't check yours.
well, the agenda's like 4 pages, so I'll.
Yeah, that's confession.
It's longer than normal.
All right. Now we'll go. accept the closing. And now we're gonna go over this budget real quick. Am I an employee? I don't think so.
My bottle of water.
All right, do we need to make a motion to start the budget hearing?
I believe so.
All right,
Well, hold up, is Kelly here?
or call to order.
Oh, you can move right into it.
That's what we're,
Yeah.
moving into the budget hearing.
We ready, y'all?
Ready?
Okay, I think if you guys can kind of turn and then look up there, can y'all see that okay from where you're sitting, board members?
Yes, sir.
I know the rest of the group's out there. See if the clicker's working here. We're just looking at our operating budget for the next year. Starting out, we're gonna look at revenues, all the money that's coming in. It's got a few charts here. You see the four main categories of revenues in our school district. Local sources, you know, that's $12.6 million we're looking at next year. Lion's share of that's ad valorem tax. Ad valorem tax. Then you got, I have calculated something this year, I'll just mention it as we're talking through here, the fee in lieu, something we've never received before with Milwaukee Tools. We should be getting some money this year that's separate from our ad valorem tax request from Milwaukee Tools, you know, again, as a fee in lieu. And I have estimated that to be, and it's very hard to get anything that I think is going to be completely accurate, but my best estimation, I've budgeted $255,000 for fee in lieu. Also in local sources are things like interest, money's coming into activity funds, gate receipts, pre-K contributions, tuition monies for pre-K. State sources down there, you see, that constitutes the lion's share of our funding, 59%. Most of that is, again, legislatively appropriated to us. Every time you go to Walmart or a grocery store and pay sales tax, you know, some of that's coming back around and comes back to our school district. State income tax, another big general fund tax that comes back to our schools. You know, other things, homestead exemptions in there. We get some vocational funding, and we also have our early learning collaborative with pre-K, some grant money. It's all state money. Federal sources next year, about $7.5 million. That, of course, is going to be food service, you know, through the USDA reimbursing us for meals. All the title programs and special education programs constitute those, you know, the money there. We are some things, you know, AmeriCorps, as we've talked about in recent board meetings, you know, used to would have been in the federal sources, but that grant has gone away. 21st century funding, I know we're working on getting that back, but it's not a lot in there right now for that. And then just this in the last few days, adult education's budget was cut considerably from $229,000 down to $86,000. So of course the last thing there is 16th section, and that's timber and hunting and surface leases there constitute all of our different revenues. All right, what this is a calculation of what we're going to receive from the state in funding this next year. You see the columns there, FY '26 versus FY '25, and then the change. If you look down at the bottom to the left that I got highlighted, that $27,395,000, that's what we're going to get from the state in funding next year. That's an increase, as you see out to the far right at the bottom, so of $310,000. When you look back up toward the top, you know, our ADE, our average daily enrollment, was down by 21 students between 25 and 26, you know, from 3,839 this most recent year to, was a little higher, the 3,860 the year before. And anyway, a lot of calculations there. One other thing that I've highlighted is that required local contribution. You see that line 24, that comes off of the required state funding, you know, and that has to do with our local tax rolls. When they grow, it's more money we have to get locally. So that required local contribution is something that we can add to our ad valorem tax request, because if we don't add it back with our ad valorem tax request, we don't get the money because they're taking it away right here in this calculation. So I'm just saying that to let you know as we get through here a little further, you'll see that coming back. Another schedule here that I always think is very interesting, we updated it for the 24 year. These numbers are taken from the superintendent's annual report. You look at the statewide totals up there in the upper left-hand corner, over $6.5 billion, you know, spent in public education in the state of Mississippi in the 24 year. $56 million came to our school district. You see the way it's broken down between local, state, and federal sources. If you look at the two pie charts at the bottom, the one on the right, our school district, if you look at the one in the blue section of the pie, 21%, that represents the local sources of revenue, which, as I said earlier, is mostly ad valorem tax. Go over to the statewide totals, and you see that that blue portion is significantly larger, 31%. So the average school district in our state gets 31% of their funding from local sources, which is going to be ad valorem taxation. So our burden on the local taxpayer is much lower than the average school district within the state. You see out to the far right up there under local sources, under our part, the Grenada School District section, we're number 120, so out of 140 something school districts, you know, we're lower on the list as far as the local sources of revenue. So I'm saying it's 119 that are higher than us and about 20 that are lower than us. So we are do a pretty good job, I think, of maintaining our ad valorem tax request at a pretty low level. All right, looking on through here at expenditures. We talked about the money coming in, now the money going out. Another big pie chart. See, the biggest part of the pie is salaries. And you look down at the bottom, salaries and benefits. You add the two of them together, that's about 60%. And in a lot of years, it's significantly higher than that. We do have a good bit of construction that's in the budget this time that makes those, they're still the majority, but many years it's closer to 80%. You see all the other categories of spending there, you know, the professional services, property services, all the way around. One of the big parts up there you see under property, 14 million. That's going to include the middle school construction. Of course, we buy a lot of computers. We got about 420, I think, $1,000 in a bus purchases budgeted for next year, and then also the CTE spending, the $5 million that was appropriated to us from Senate Bill 3015 this past year. If we spend all of that, that's included in that money there as well. All right, so this is on the expenditure side. I forget I got this little button, look at that. All right, so of course you look at, again, spending for the state, $5.5 billion, you know, our spending in 24. And you look at the big thing there, to me, is instructional. Where are we spending the money? For us, we're a little over 70%, a little over 67% statewide. So we're doing a pretty good job of directing the dollars that come to us to instruction and away from administration. If you look at general administration, we're at 4.2%. Again, we're number 112 on that list. You know, in the state, average is 4.61%. All right, ad valorem taxation. This is where we've compiled a lot of numbers on there, I know. Of course, you're looking at this top up here is kind of where we are this current year. Our total millage is 42.71. You know, that's the operational millage, and then the debt millages that we have at 1.34% of 1.34 mills. The debt millage is our 3 mil note, and it's also our shortfall note. And I will say our shortfall note is falling off this year. It was a 3-year deal that we're paying back the money that we received when there was an error on the tax rolls one year and we didn't get all the money that we had requested. So we had to basically take on a debt to get the money to make that up, and we've been paying it back for 3 years. So again, 0.71 approximately of a millage will roll off of debt this year. You see, that's what we budgeted from operations and for debt for this year. And you look out here at our assessed valuation. I can't get a current number for that, but you see how that's been trending over the years. And also you see, I've got another chart over here too, but you see kind of how our millage rates have you know, moved around some over the last few years. It's a graph of those millage rates. You can see we come up from high, we drop down, jump back up, and this was the year that it was an error on the tax rolls. The tax rolls were inflated, and because of that, it reduced what our millage worked out to be for the request that we turned in. But then when the error on the tax rolls was corrected, then we didn't get all the money that was due us. And anyway, so we've been back up. We was actually down some this last year. So we dropped, what is that, about 0.8 mils last year. So that's something that we want to try to keep that millage and not let it, you know, not to add to the tax burden of the county, but certainly not let it slip from us either. This is, I always think, is a pretty neat comparative schedule of us and 20 other school districts. And what we've tried to do is pick out some that were pretty close to us in enrollment and also in the actual assessed valuation, their tax base that they're working off of. And you see a bunch of them. If you're in Clinton, you know, with the debt and all, you're looking at 67 mills. Laurel, 66. Some of them a little closer to home. South Panola, they're at 60. Cleveland, down the Delta's at 57. And you look at us, we're way down here at 43.51. You know, this was in the 24 year. The only one that was lower than us is old Marshall County here on there, and they're pretty low, but you look right there at what their tax base is. It's a really big tax base, so that helps them to be that low because they got a big tax base to draw from. So when it comes to the tax request this year, this is a worksheet that every school district in the state uses to calculate what your tax request, you know, can be for the year. You start out, you schedule all the collections that you've had since you made the request last year. We hadn't got our settlement in June yet, so I've had to estimate the last 4 months of the year. And so we're looking at $9.491 million is what we're estimating. Again, because you're still estimating those other 4 years. You know, what our ad valorem collections will be. You add your homestead to that. Again, estimating part of that too. We'll get some more in September. Builds your base. Something I've done this time, I did add 2% to our base. You can go up to 4% without being any kind of a petition that the public can file or do anything like that, you know, as long as we run the right ad in the paper, and we did do that. And then also down here, I'm adding what we talked about earlier, that increase in the local contribution. So those amounts get us to the total ad valorem and homestead allowed to be requested. You get down here to the bottom line in our request for next year. What we have published in the paper is going to be that $10 million, a little over $10 million. What we requested last year was this $9.4 million, so that's about $604,000 difference. I did mention earlier that this shortfall note, you know, where last year we requested that much, $161,000 for that, that's going away because we're going to pay that note off. So that's actually will go down. So the net effect of all that, about $439,000 increase. And I can tell, I think we can kind of see from up here some of our actual collections this year on from ad valorem tax. I do believe the tax rolls have grown some in this last year. So this request, you never know. You say, Rodney, will this request make taxes go up? You know, it's impossible for us to know that right now because we don't know what the tax roll is going to be for next year. But seeing all this trend here, and again, what we've collected and just that history that we looked at before, you know, I think in all, you know, probability, and in fact, I know we're rolling about 0.71 mils off right there. I think we will stay flat, you know, or near flat in our request. And I think it is adding that 2% something that I think that we need to do when we look at just what our budget is for the year. So when you look at our combined budget report, okay, I'm just in a summary out here. The total, when you look at all the local, intermediate, state, what we looked at in that first pie chart, a little over $50 million in revenue for next year. And now again, that $50 million, it doesn't include, there's no special funding that's going to be out there like we've had in some years past, you know, COVID most recently, and even back further than that, there were some different ARA monies that came through. So we're looking at about $50 million in revenues, you know, between all these different categories of funds, from general to special revenue, to capital projects, debt service, permanent trust. And our spending is actually going to be $65 million next year. So that means, you know, what's coming in minus what's going out gives us about a $15 million difference there. Say $15 million. Where's all that money going? And you look, and of course these are just other financing sources and uses. Most all that's washing out. So we're at about that $15 million. And, you know, again, and we're looking at our fund balance. I'm projecting to have at the end of this fiscal year being about $33 million. So when we spend $15 million, we're looking at our ending fund balance at the end of next year per this budget being a little over $18 million. One more schedule here that maybe will help break some of that down. So if you're looking at having that big of a decrease in your fund balance for next year, so where's all that money going? Well, these are the sources. You know, again, we talk about this legislatively funded, appropriated CTE monies that we've got. So that money's already in the bank. It's in our fund balance right now. That dollar amount, and I'm estimating that dollar amount to be in this House Bill 603 fund at the end of the fiscal year. And then plus the construction that at the middle school, we should pay all of that out next year. And we are still buying a few buses that we've got on order that haven't been delivered yet. So again, that kind of accounts for the spending. So the money that we have, that we currently have in the bank that's in fund balance is going to could be spent on construction, and then much of it will be spent. Some of this will likely roll over even into the next year, and we won't actually spend all of that. But again, looking at the budget and just budgeting it like we will spend it all during this next year.
But these are not reoccurring costs.
No, that's just, you know, so again, at the end of the day, you'll have a lot of, you know, things that we're doing capital-wise in CTE, and we'll have a big addition on the middle school. So the money will go from being in our bank to being in these assets. You know, it's still an asset, it's just shifting. And so that's actually the end of that, y'all.
Okay.
And
We'll get this presented at the next meeting.
Correct, yeah, that we're presenting now and be voted on and approved at the next meeting. And I've got some copies of which what we went through there. And in addition to this summary of the budget, also here, if y'all want to grab one of those, it's every fund. It's the same, you know, type report for every fund, you know, under the umbrella of the school district. So all the general funds, all the special revenue funds, which is a bunch, 50-something of them, I think. If you want to look at all that.
Did you explain to everybody that because of the buckets of money that we have, that we look really, really good right now because of the money,
Yeah.
the $5 billion and the $3 billion
Right.
on vocational?
And that's what we're saying. If y'all look right there, if you look after we do all the spending, then our fund balance will come back down. And you have to remember, you know, and of course this is a budget. It's not, you know, it's our best guess from where we are right now. But if you wind up about right there, and remember out of that $18 million, that's not all money that you can just spend, you know, because some of it's going to be sitting there for debt service. Some of it's going to be in food service. You know, that federal money there is just for that. You know, we've got an unemployment compensation fund. We got a balance in our early learning collaborative. You got a lot of buckets of money that are restricted that you can't just, spend in general. So when you think about it, we said that our revenues for next year are about 50 million, and that's pretty straightforward. It's not any extra monies coming in that we expect that we're gonna take out have a big bond issue and have a bunch of money come in, or it's gonna be a big grant program. It's kind of where we are, and I think where we will be in normal years going forward. So when you look at really what you have in fund balance, and we're pretty comfortable in fund balance compared to a lot of other school districts. But, you gotta be very careful and be measured in everything you do, because you look at that, if you say that 50 million and you go to back and sum off of that 18, you're looking at turning that money over, what your fund balance is really only about a third of the year, that you could pay for if your revenues just cut off. You see what I'm saying? 50 divided by, say, 15, it's about.
Is that 18, is that usually pretty typical year to year?
It's probably a little bit lower now, than it has been in some years past.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I guess that's all I have, y'all. So just be at the next board meeting. You'd be doing two things. You'd be voting on to approve the budget for the year, and then also to the ad valorem tax resolution. Those two things.
Which is that 2%?
Yep, adding that 2%, and then plus adding the local contribution to it. Because again, one thing that I've been very slow to learn, is I've been very reluctant to recommend adding anything to our request in a year. But when you don't, I've seen it enough now.
We don't get it.
We lose ground, man. And then again, and I think this happens in every county, but if our millage goes down, and I went over that with y'all before, it's just how it is. Every county is going to do it. They're the taxing authority. They're collecting the tax for the county and the school, And so if our request, makes our millage go down a little bit, well, the overall millage to the taxpayer out there is not going to go down. Ours will go down, but the counties will go up enough to offset it. You can look at year after year after year. That's what happens, So again, I'm not begrudging them. I think the county does a great job, Board of Supervisors. You see all the things that's happening with our economic development here locally and all. They do a lot of great work. But again, we have to look out for ourselves here with our school district as well and see, because we got to make sure that we can preserve fund balance, to be comfortable and to be able to do the things we need to do here within the school district. And again, guys, I just want to tell y'all, I guess here in closing, this is kind of my last hurrah tonight here with you guys. Been about 12 years now. Appreciate y'all. It's been a good run. We'll be moving on, in the audit world, and I'll still be around if you guys will allow me to. I'm planning on coming back a little bit on a contractual basis there, just to help get the year closed and just to kind of get, through some of the things here at the end.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate you all.
Right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Get a motion to close our budget hearing. Second. All in favor? Unanimous?
Bill, book, I think Julie's got some.